Hello and welcome to another video from Mr. Ms Nation, and today we're not actually talking Formula 1, we are talking Moto GP, 2 wheels instead of 4. Of course, the Moto GP 2014 season starting this weekend in Qatar, in the night sky. It's going to be a brilliant race, I have a feeling, but obviously everything's changed this year. Open versus factory bikes. It's going to be very interesting. It's a lot more complicated than it sounds, but I'll get onto that a bit later. And also, sorry about my gameplay in the background here. I'm not exactly brilliant at the most recent MotoGP game. I've only played it a couple of times, so sorry for my driving in that, but hopefully it'll be in my commentary and the points that I make will be a bit more interesting, I hope, anyway. Yeah, let's start with the new riders and the British hopes. First of all, Nicky Hayden to Aspar Racing. That's a big move for him, really. I mean, former world champion. I mean, he was at Ducati, obviously, but they also didn't want him anymore. Cal Crutchlow coming in over there, but I'll get onto that a bit later as well. But yeah, Nicky Hayden, it's a bold move, really, and I mean, he could have been pushed out by Ducati, but he's going to have to try and make something out of it. With I believe he's in an open, he was an open bike team, so he really needs to push this year, because Nicky Hayden's starting to kind of fall from grace a bit, and you would say there's going to be a struggle for him to win another world championship, obviously. So he'll just be looking to challenge, maybe to just get in the points. Well, obviously, really. And obviously beat his teammate in Aomoa, I think that's how you say it, I'm not even sure, who's also at Aspar. Pol Espargaro, the Moto2 champion, up to Tech 3, partnered by Bradley Smith, who obviously joined Tech 3 last year to partner Cal Crutchlow, who has obviously gone to Ducati. Pol Espargaro, big year for him, beat Scott Redding to that title last year in Moto2 right at the end. But he's already hit problems in testing. He broke his collarbone, which didn't really help him at all going into this weekend, to be honest. And he also crashed in FP3 as well, so he may not be able to get into the final top 10 shootout to put it on pole position. So it might not be a brilliant start for Pol Espargaro. It might be quite a rough start, especially with his brother doing so well in an open bike team, whilst he's stuck with a factory ride. But he really needs to assert his dominance against Bradley Smith early on, really, to show that it really is his team, just kind of like Cal Crutchlow did. And he just needs to constantly perform well and consistently perform well, because he needs to try and keep that seat and move up. Possibly with Rossi maybe retiring soon, Pol Espargaro will look to kind of maybe go for that seat. But it's a big year for Pol Espargaro, especially against his brother. Speaking of his brother, Alexis Espargaro, the Nico Hülkenberg of MotoGP, in my opinion. He really is taking that bike where it shouldn't be. He did it last season. It looks like he's doing it this year as well, because he's topped all the practice timesheets. He was incredibly quick in testing with that open bike. And I mean, he's definitely one of the best on the grid, in my opinion. He deserves a ride with a Ducati or a Yamaha, or, I mean, talking about Rossi's seat, Alexis Espargaro could potentially get that as well. I mean, he is a real talent, and you can see him kind of dragging it into the top 5 in a CRT bike at points last year, which is just ridiculous considering how worse off the CRT bikes were compared to the factory ones. So Alexis Espargaro apparently tipped to be the favourite going into the weekend, so even Rossi's tipped him as favourite, so that's quite a big burden on his shoulders. But he showed in practice that he's quick, and he's going to be a dangerous one, and he's going to be one to look out for this year for sure. Scott Redding to Grassini Racing, that's another big one. Obviously he kind of choked, I guess, in the Moto2 battle last year, which was a bit disappointing for him. But I mean, he needs to refocus this year after a poor end to last year and really start getting some good results if he can. There may be a bit more focus on Cal Crutchlow, which might take a bit of pressure off him to kind of put the good performances in, but he'll want to be more of a Cal Crutchlow than a James Toseland, I would say. But it's a big year for Scott Redding, of course. Johnny Hernandez has gone to Pramac Racing. Sadly, Ben Spies has retired. I mean, his last few years were just disastrous, really. Very well, it's just a big shame that he kind of started to struggle towards the end, but I mean, it didn't surprise me when he retired, and I mean, it's very unfortunate because he looked like a big prospect, but I mean, all those crashes must have took so much out of him, and very sad to see him off the grid, but I guess it kind of opened up new spots for younger talent, so it works both ways. A couple of new drivers, riders even, as well. Mike DiMegalo in the Avanti Racing, and Brock Parks joining Paul Bird Motorsport, partnering what's his face? Please forgot his name. Michael Lafferty. There we go. I knew it was some British guy, but I just completely forgot for a second. But yeah, he partners up with him. That should be an interesting battle. Michael Lafferty will hope to win that one, really, and it'll be interesting to keep track of Michael Lafferty as well. And obviously we've got Alvaro Batista and Stefan Bradl still as teammates with Honda, which is going to be a dangerous pairing again. I mean, they were really putting it up there in that with those Grassini and LCR bikes. I mean, they were really hunting for podiums. There was kind of that section behind the front three riders of kind of Rossi, Bautista, Bradl and Crutchlow, and occasionally Dovizioso as well, that were just all scrapping for the podium, really. So that's going to be interesting to see those two. They're always going to be dangerous, and they'll all, of course, be kind of looking to move up as well into a main ride. Maybe if Petroza doesn't have a great year, potentially. Then of course there's Crutchlow to Ducati, which is a big talking point even. A lot of people saying it was the wrong move because obviously Ducati have only had 3 podiums in the last 4 years, I believe. They haven't won since 2010 with Casey Stoner. So I mean, it's a very bold move from him. Obviously with the whole conundrum with the open bikes with Ducati, could give him a bit of an advantage, but he did seem to be struggling in a few of the practice sessions. And obviously he's partnered with Dovizioso again, who he was partnered with at Tech 3. They had some epic scraps, so even if that Ducati does struggle again, expect to see big battles and amazing battles between Crutchlow and Dovizioso, because they do like battling with each other quite a lot, and they are pretty even usually. But I think Crutchlow's style does kind of suit the Ducati maybe a bit more than Dovizioso, but we will see in the first couple of races. Right, now, moving on to the tough stuff and the bizarre stuff and the political madness of the open bikes versus the factory bikes. Just to put it simply, factory bikes have a fuel tank of 20 litres. Open bikes have 24 litres in their fuel tank. Factory bikes have 5 engines, open bikes have 12 engines. However, open bikes are allowed to freely develop their engine design, whilst factory ones are frozen, so they can't develop over them. And also open bikes also have another option, softer tyre option as well. Both bikes have to use the electronic control unit, which is the Spec Magneti Marelli electronics package, so they both have to use that, but then they also get to pick the software that they use differently, because open class are restricted to identical software, standardized software, whilst factory are allowed to use their own custom software. So it's all kind of different in that department, but Ducati kind of found a loophole. You would expect that they would kind of be under the factory name, but they forfeited control over their own software and kind of became open. And then Dorna, the kind of like the FIA of Moto GP, then amended the rules so that factory entrance was out of dry when in the previous season got the chance to compete as open entrants. Therefore, Ducati can go back to running as a factory entrant again with the advantages of an open bike. So that's why a lot of people were unhappy, to be honest, because Ducati are one of those big teams, but because they've been struggling so much, they kind of see this as a big chance for them, really. But however, if a open bike team or bike gets 3 third place podiums, 2 second places, or a win in dry conditions, then their fuel capacity goes to 22 litres, and then if they get 3 wins, they are also stripped of their soft tyre option as well. So there are some benefits, there are some negatives to running the open bikes, but a lot of factory bike riders such as Jorge Lorenzo and Stefan Bradl have kind of been complaining about this, that the open bikes have too much of an advantage. Rossi, as I said, has tipped Espargaro, that's Alexis Espargaro, to win the race as well. So it's definitely made it a bit more interesting going into the first few races, because a lot more people don't know what's going to happen. Maybe it'll still be the usual faces of Marc Marquez, Pedrosa, Lorenzo and Rossi up there, but you never know. This could completely shake it up. Now, moving on to the title battle, which, of course, despite all these things as open bikes and Alexis Espargaro being tipped to win the first race, you would expect the kind of the favourites going into the season still to be up there as the season goes on. I mean, Marc Marquez is still definitely the favourite, the 20-year-old, I believe he is. Not sure if he's had his birthday for the 21st yet or not. But obviously the youngest world champion, the youngest MotoGP winner ever. He obviously broke his leg in testing, which was a bit of a blow to him. So he missed a bit of testing. Luckily it was a clean break for him, so he's able to race in Qatar in the first few races, but that could have a bit of an effect on him. But we obviously saw that last season. It is all about just kind of keeping fit. That's why I think some of the bigger drivers and the standout names like Lorenzo, Pedrosa and Marquez will try to be a bit more careful this year and more conservative, because we saw how much a big injury can affect your title chances, as Lorenzo and Pedrosa proved last year. They basically handed Marquez with the title with those injuries. So Lorenzo even will obviously be dangerous as per usual. I mean, he's always going to be up there in my opinion, Lorenzo. I mean, he is the number one, he's the clear number one rider now in Yamaha. He has been for quite a few years now, so he will be up there. Is it the last chance for Pedrosa? I mean, it's his 10th year, I believe, in MotoGP. He's come ever so close every single year to that title, but he just hasn't quite been able to do it. But I mean, I think he's going to struggle to win the title this year, and I think he might fall downwards even more, to be honest. I mean, there'll be a lot of pressure on him this year after missing out. I mean, there's that whole crash last year with Marquez. Can't quite remember what track it was, but I mean, another thing to look out for will be Marquez versus Lorenzo again, obviously. I mean, after what happened in Jerez last year, with the whole thing at the last corner, with the whole Rossi Giovanale thing all over again. Speaking of Rossi, it's also maybe his last year, potentially. I mean, he's obviously lost Jeremy Burgess. He's left the team in Yamaha, obviously. So, I mean, Rossi entering kind of his last chapter here, but he'll be looking to win again. I mean, I believe he won in Assen last year. I think it was Assen that he won. So he'll be looking to win again, really. I mean, I doubt he's going to be able to make the challenge for the title. I have a strong feeling that it'll still be the same three that go for it. But to be honest, if I was going to tip anyone for the title, this may sound generic and boring, but I do think it'll be Marc Marquez. I mean, I can't see anyone stopping him, even with this whole open thing going on and Lorenzo being back on form at the end of last year. I just think Marc Marquez is going to be too strong, even though he did break his leg. But it's definitely going to be an interesting season compared to the last few, with this whole open bike thing, and it's certainly going to make it a bit more technical, and it's going to be more difficult to understand. In terms of TV rights, obviously it's gone to BT Sport, which luckily I can see because I'm a BT Sport, not BT Sport user, a BT internet user, so I'm quite lucky in that respect that I can view it on my PC. But of course there is ITV4 highlights on a Monday night, I believe it is. I'm not quite sure what time it is on a Monday night, but Toby Moody's obviously over that, the former Eurosport commentator. He's very good. Obviously Julian Ryder's gone to BT Sport. But I mean, qualifying is in, well, for the main class is in about an hour or so, probably when this video will be, well, once this video is uploaded. So anyway, that is my kind of predictions and preview, I guess, for the MotoGP 2014 season. Hopefully I kind of cleared up the open and factory bike conundrum up a bit for people who didn't know. But thank you for watching. This has been a great video to make. But thank you for watching, and until next time, goodbye.